and you're entitled to 10 minutes, Deputy, but if everybody's to get in, you would need to take up about 4 to 5 minutes.
OK, I'll try and do that. Sure. Thank you very much indeed. Can Cole, I've enjoyed debates of this sort for a very, very long time, and there's a kind of repetitiveness about them, which is that people claim to be the champions of neutrality and are more vociferous than others in that particular cause. But I must say I do think, and I agree with a lot of what Deputy Daly said there, in that there was a time when the voice of Ireland was respected overseas. And that voice was respected mainly, I think, because neutrality did have an identity, and we were respected for saying things which were courageous if unpopular. And that is gone. I must say, and I don't like to personalise this, but I think it's only fair, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr Flanagan, has been in office for a very short period of time. But I cannot remember, for the life of me, a single thing that he has said since he's been in office. He's the greatest advertisement for the abolition of the Department of Foreign Affairs that I can think of. There is nothing being said which would offend anybody in the world. Minister, would you stop interrupting? You'd get a chance to come back in a minute. You know only a couple of minutes. But he is that advertisement. Well, you may be impressed by it, Minister, but you've got lower thresholds than I have. That's all I can say. Now, that is something which is regrettable. And it's something which we should take note of. And why is this happening? Why is it that Ireland is frightened of raising its voice against anything? Whether Deputies Wallace and Daly are right or not, surely the Minister should have expressed concern at the apparent activities of the US in Shannon. But no, we're silent, we're cowed. We're not a neutral nation, we're a neutered nation. We're a nation that hides behind other nations, seeks a consensus, and then makes statements in line with that consensus. Whether it's the European Union, whether it's the US, whether it's the UK, but there's one thing that is certain, and that is that we are now, because of this government's policy and former government's policy, we're a satellite nation. We're a satellite one day of the US, one day of the UK, another day of Europe. But we're sure not an independent, neutral nation whose word is listened to around the world. And that is something which I regret. Sorry, Councillor, is that 2 minutes just what I've got left if I take my time? Or is that because you're just giving me 5?
Can I just check on that? We agree on 5 because if all the other remaining speakers are to get in, okay. That would be a voluntary thing because you're entitled to 10 minutes.
I'll try and restrict myself to 5. You know, evidence of that would be very clear. There used to be a time when people, heads of state and heads of government, used to come to this House and used to require to come to this House and address this House. JFK did it. Ronald Reagan did it. Mitterrand did it. Kohl did it. Others did it. That ended. Tony Blair did it. Mandela did it. That ended about the year 2000. If the Minister goes round and looks at the photographs around the House, he'd find there was a spate of visits here at a time when Ireland was respected. They don't come anymore. They don't address this House anymore. And you know why that is? Because they'll probably be interrupted by a Minister who doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why. That's why they probably will. But they don't come anymore. And that's because they have no respect for what Ireland says in the nations of the world, because it says virtually nothing. I understand fully the reasons for this, but let's be realistic about it. I saw in the newspaper this morning, I saw the fact that last year our nation received more FDI than any other nation, FDI from the US than any other nation in the world. Of course, that exerts pressures Of course that's important. Of course the economy is important. And of course if multinationals, the United States, are investing here, it has an effect. But let's recognise the fact that we are bowing to American pressure, whether tacit or real, because we are economically now dependent on the multinationals. That's something which the government should recognise and admit as well that that's the reason for its silence. And we are equally cowardly in our foreign affairs, in our silence on the Greek issue. Indeed, it's not silence, it's in fact become now a situation where we're frightened of sticking up for the rights of small nations as we used to do. So let's not pretend that we're involved in some sort of aggressive neutrality. We're not. We're neutered. We're a satellite. If we're not a satellite of one bloc, we're a satellite of another. And it's to our shame and to the government's shame that it's not admitting that today.
Thank you, Deputy. The next speaker is Deputy